So Saturday night's main event edition number 38, 39, I forget which one it is. In any event, it's the one for May 24th, 2025 is in the books. Cody Rhodes returned.
I'm Earl Shive. I'll paint any car for just $99.95.
What the? Another ad? Just this time here in WrestleJuice? There's too many ads. Way too many ads. Let's go ahead and dive into the hot takes, reactions, and cold takes. First up, Paradox 3000 says, whoever said Cody wouldn't get the reaction WWE wants should be eating their words. Whoever dropped that hot take in that last edition of Hot Takes, which is a couple days ago, who said WWE is not going to get the reaction they think they're going to get with Cody Rhodes returns. You got to take all those words. You got to crinkle them up. And that was a bad idea. You got to eat your words, man. Cody got a huge reaction last night at Saturday night's main event. I'll be honest with you guys. Also, the people out there who claim Saturday night's main event is merely a televised house show, they don't do big angles like that at house shows. We had another person joining Seth Rollins' new dangerous alliance, Bronson Reed. That doesn't happen at house shows. So, yeah, look, Cody Rhodes, his return, it's a big, big deal. And I feel like WWE, feel like Triple H, Paul Levesque, I feel like he's savvy enough, and I said this in that last episode, I feel like he's savvy enough to understand this is the appropriate way to make sure that people don't boo Cody, even though by and large they're not going to boo Cody anyways. But when you put him in there in a one-on-one battle with John Cena, who's on the cusp of making history, yeah, there's going to be a couple people who are booing Cody. But even in the build to WrestleMania, Cody was able to take those people booing him and wrangle him back to his side. But of course, absence makes the heart grow fonder as well. So I feel like Cody and his reaction, his crowd reaction for the time being is going to be just fine. They'll probably do a pretty decent build to SummerSlam is my guess, where Cena will lose that WWE Undisputed Championship to Cody Rhodes, and the crowd will pop big for it. I do think that they probably should have gone a little further with the R-Truth beatdown from John Cena, but they did give him a little moment of hesitation there. Anyways, this isn't about me and my reaction to it. It's about...
Whenever I feel like a great tasting meal, I go back to Del Taco again.
God damn, another one of those ads. It's only been 2 minutes. What is happening right now? Jalen LeGrant says, R-Truth being 2-1 against Cena before tonight is the craziest WWE stat of all time. Like, literally nobody knew that. I didn't even know that until you posted this particular hot take, because evidently I wasn't paying attention when they said that. So, yeah, that's kind of crazy, I guess. Heel Harrison said this was not a glorified house show. The Saturday night's main event has been better than recent past episodes. Yeah, it has been. They actually gave us some story beats in this one. I don't even think the last couple Saturday night's main events have been glorified house shows. Matches happen, things happen. You know, have we had any title changes? I don't know. Probably not. But, you know, they have had blow-off matches at Saturday night's main events. And so, yeah, the idea that it's a televised house show is kind of silly. At worst, it's basically a primetime Raw / SmackDown special. Corbin Kepner says, my hottest take is I can't believe they keep bringing back Ventura. All right, so this was probably conglomerated with all the different hot takes. This one was sort of reiterated a lot, maybe more than any of the other ones, if not thumbs up the most. It definitely was a recurring theme in the thread in terms of Jesse Ventura and his role in Saturday night's main event. I love Jesse Ventura. I like what he brings to Saturday night's main event beyond just the nostalgia factor. That being said, some of the commentary was a bit on the awkward side last night. Like, for example, him not knowing, and that was actually kind of funny, that Michael Cole wrestled at WrestleMania when Cole brought up that he's undefeated at WrestleMania, and Ventura was like, oh, who did you wrestle? Even though it's like one of the most infamous matches in WrestleMania history. Some of it is a little bit awkward. Sometimes it's okay for shit just to go completely off the cuff, and Ventura complaining about the escape nature of the steel cage. I'll be honest with you. I feel it. I understand it. But in my opinion, it was a little bit much. But I kind of appreciate that, like, he's been, ever since they brought him back, he's been kind of off the cuff like this. He's been kind of wilding out. And I kind of appreciate it. I like that they bring a little bit of that chaos to Saturday night's main event, even if it makes me feel a little bit awkward sometimes when I'm watching it, listening to what he has to say. I can appreciate a little bit of chaos thrown into the mix. You never know what you're going to get with Ventura. Azie 1986 says Cena versus Truth needed to be a little bit more violent. All right, let's revisit this because I mentioned this briefly, and I'm glad that somebody else had this thought as well. This is something we talked about a lot over the Going in Raw podcast, but I'll mention it here. I do think that we had that little moment of doubt from John Cena, which ended up being either legitimate or simply a ruse, or maybe he just made up his mind. I'm not going to blast him in the head with the title. I'm just going to low blow him, and then I'll blast him in the head afterwards and beat feet. I do think there was something to that. That being said, I feel like it was a little bit left on the ambiguous side in terms of what John Cena's mindset was. Was there a reason he didn't get more violent with R-Truth after the match? Of course, he blasted him with the title and he just left. Could there have been a moment where they milked out a little bit more and Cena maybe was going to go for another one, thought about it, and left? I feel like it was missing one dramatic beat that gave us a little bit more insight into where John Cena's head is right now. This actually has the potential to be a very interesting last 7 months of his career if they're going to explore his regrets about turning heel and why he turned heel in the first place and how he's going to get back to being a babyface by the time he's retired, which is what I believe is going to happen. And I think should happen because I think that'd be the most interesting story to tell. And I thought last night was an interesting opportunity for them to go there, and they didn't. They could have had him get even more violent with R-Truth, or the opposite, have him want to get more violent with R-Truth, but realize that would be going too far, and we would need to see that. So they didn't really go there. You could try to extrapolate out of what they didn't do with John Cena, but I think that's going a little far, and I think that it's on WWE to give us a little bit more so that we can sit here and digest it, because I think the story has a lot of potential. Scooter Does Stuff says WWE disrespected Gunther massively. Before he won the world title, was around the top of the card. As soon as he wins the world title, they made him feel like an afterthought. Now that Gunther is no longer champ, the new champ is instantly involved in the A story again. I kind of agree. On one hand, I kind of agree with it. On the other hand, I've always felt like the World Heavyweight Championship, once Seth got it, and especially when it became clear, once Damian Priest got it, it became kind of clear that it became, in my opinion, Triple H's side project title, the title that he books the way he wants to without regard for, hey, what's this going to do for the business? How is this going to play out for the business? And so the Gunther thing might have been just a little bit of self-indulgence on Triple H's part. Perhaps. I know at the house shows, he had opponents like CM Punk and AJ Styles, and I think if he had put those on TV, it would have been a lot more interesting. Exactly how do you protect Punk in that situation? I guess that's, probably the reason why they didn't put it on TV. That being said, it does feel like that is the title that he doesn't have to worry about putting that out there on, like the morning shows, like when Cody Rhodes does radio or TV or whatever, and he's got the undisputed title because he's going to get it back. He doesn't have to worry about the World Heavyweight Championship being that thing, which also means he can't book it necessarily for the main event. It was booked as the main event last night, but that's because there wasn't an undisputed title match on the show. So yeah, I don't know. Was it a disrespect of Gunther, or is it simply Triple H? I just get the feeling that Gunther is Triple H's WrestleJuice. And the undisputed championship, that's his going in Raw. He's like, hey, you know what? This brings in the money, and I really love it. But this is my own little thing that I'm going to play with, and I'm going to have fun with, and I'm not going to worry about it being the main event. I'm not going to worry about it being the big business title. So it should be interesting to see what they do with that, because it seems clear that Gunther is on the verge of being maybe Raw's 1B face to Jey Uso's 1A. I still firmly believe that Jey Uso is going to get cashed in on June 9th, when after his match with Gunther, he'll probably beat Gunther. Maybe they will do that and have the cash in happen as a way to turn Gunther face so that he can feud with Seth Rollins after Seth Rollins cashes in and wins that title. Because I think at this point it's going to be Seth Rollins. Logan Paul's not going to be in Money in the Bank because he's going to have a match at Money in the Bank. So now it just seems clear that Seth Rollins is going to win Money in the Bank cash in June 9th. I really think that's going to happen, in which case Gunther will be a babyface and he'll feud with Seth Rollins. Diehard Homer saying Cena seemingly having regrets already feels like we missed a few chapters with no explanation for his alignment with Rock. This will be looked at like the invasion in the future. I don't know if it was Diehard Homer who had this original hot take and I didn't use it. I think it was over at Going in Raw. No, I think it was here at WrestleJuice. That was the last thread we had, where somebody said this John Cena heel turn is going to end up being kind of viewed like the invasion angle, where it was like, hey, this is a good idea, but they really failed to capitalize on it. Time will tell. We'll know in 7 months how this is going to end up being viewed, because I think in real time we'll be able to kind of recognize in real time the invasion angle was like, man, they're really dropping the ball here. And not having Goldberg, Flair, the NWO, Hogan, Sting, all them, not having them during the invasion, real time, we knew it was not good. I remember thinking that. I'm like, this is kind of crappy. Like nobody wants to see, I don't know, who was around, like Sean O'Hare. Look, no disrespect to Sean O'Hare, but it's like Sean O'Hare, Lance Storm, they're not exactly Hulk Hogan and, Goldberg. So I don't think this is at those levels, because we did get that moment after Backlash. We did get a good match at Backlash. This R-Truth one, yes, it was 4 minutes plus, but I feel like the point came across. R-Truth had some pretty good build, had some pretty good promo stuff in the build to this, the sit down with Wade and then the promo on SmackDown this past week. And then him coming out in his own R-Truth old school Cena shirt, I thought was awesome. And so was Cena having to beat the best of himself and the good in himself, and him trying to get rid of that. I think that's kind of powerful. I think that was a pretty decent metaphor that we saw at Saturday night's main event. And so already I feel like this is on track to being better than the invasion. I have no doubt there's going to be other big, interesting, fun character moments for John Cena on the road back to being a face. I feel like he'll have that one moment where he definitively turns back to being a good guy in some way, shape, or form. It'll be big. It'll be dramatic. And it'll make us all appreciate this all the much more. So I don't think this is going to end up in invasion territory. I think this is going to be a successful story. Maybe not as deep with the tension and drama as we'd like it to be, and maybe that it has potential for. But I think at the end of the day, we'll get there and we'll enjoy it and we'll look back on it fondly. That's my guess. And maybe I'm just being overly optimistic. Maybe I'm a half glass full guy these days. I don't know. But I just get the feeling that with what we saw at Backlash and a little bit of what we saw last night at Saturday night's main event, I feel like we're going to get there. The Wallinator has a really highly upvoted take here. R-Truth got the best match out of heel Cena so far. All killer, no filler is the best thing for Cena matches at this stage in his career. So a lot of you really like the under 5-minute match. Look, I appreciate that this was a very efficiently told story beat. Probably could have gone longer in my book, but I understand that, maybe longer isn't better for Cena these days. You could have taken this 7 minutes, I think. You could have taken this 10 minutes maybe and given us some more story beats, some more character beats perhaps, but they went the short route, and a lot of you agree with this take, so who am I to disagree? Patrick Cheeseman says Cody and Jay teaming up again is perfect, especially if we get drunk Cody and drunk Jay at the post-match scrum. Evidently, they don't have a rule against people being lit at the post-media scrum, because Jay just did it like, I don't know, was it at Mania? I don't know which one it was. I forget which one it was, but he got lit there. So, yeah, I think it's entirely possible that Wheatley, I like to drink it neatly, Wheatley, whatever it is. Aussie Horror says the crowd being as hot as they were for Punk for the entirety of the match shows how vital he is for WWE's programming and maintaining the audience's interest in their product over the next 2 to 5 years. Punk versus Cena, Punk versus Rollins, Punk versus Gunther, a Punk heel turn, book it. They found something good with CM Punk. It seems like the collaborative process backstage is really beneficial to keeping him engaged and happy. And the whole return has been a wild success for CM Punk. I fully expect him to be a champion of some sort within the next 12 months for sure. Which title will that be? I don't know, but you got to figure he's probably the most popular guy on the roster right now. So you might as well run with that while it's hot. Femtrapta says nothing kills a cage match faster than someone hitting a massive spot and they just walk out the front door to win. While Jasper Jr. says he just walks out the door. He just walks out the door. Yeah, man. If they're not going to do a big, dramatic, people are fighting to get out of the cage escape, then just go with a pin or submission. Walking out of the cage, I get it. Maybe on paper, the concerto and the big dramatic walk down, and he's on the last step, and then he looks back, and then he just completes his journey down the steps. Maybe on paper it seemed cool. I don't know. It fell flat. I wasn't into it. And on top of that, I felt like, and number one, I guess now I'm technically wrong because I didn't think Drew McIntyre was going to lose another big match. And I guess I have to amend this now. I've got to move those goalposts. And I'm saying this with full transparency. I think he's going to ultimately win this feud because I do think that Drew is on a hotter trajectory than Damian Priest. And maybe I'm wrong about that. I love Damian Priest. I think he's great. And I think that this win really helps him. But it was a lame finish. And it really made Drew look bad, which is good for Damian Priest, I suppose. But the sauntering out of the cage, I don't think worked for a lot of people. Yeah, if you're not going to do the big dramatic escape where two people are fighting to leave, I'll put it this way. I think that the cage match is kind of overdone these days, and they're rarely like all that compelling. But I do feel like if you want to change the cage match a little bit and keep the escape aspect of it, just don't have the door as an option. The door is never, either they do the thing like they did with Roman Reigns, and because the Punk Rollins match was really good, the cage match there, but the ending was kind of crap too, because Rollins just comes in and what did he like? He like just threw Punk out of the cage, or he dragged Punk out of the cage, so he won. Or was it vice versa? I forget what it was. I think Rollins won that. Reigns dragged Rollins out. And so it's like, that was a weird fit. Just get rid of the door. The over-the-top escape, I think, is fine. Get rid of the door. Because you could be inventive with going over the top. Nobody's ever inventive with the door escape. So, yeah, I don't know. I thought it was kind of a lame finish. It didn't work. And but I fully expect this is going to, in another loss, get Drew McIntyre even more incensed. And he'll probably annihilate Damian Priest next chance he gets. Whatever match they do after this, maybe they'll take it to Hell in a Cell. I don't know. In any event, I think Drew's going to come out of this feud. So I'll move the goalposts. Drew McIntyre won't lose another feud until he wins that championship, the undisputed one. And I know I've been proven wrong on he's not going to lose another match. I was probably stupid thinking how feuds work. He's not going to lose another major feud because this one's not over. This is not over. They're going to do another match. Shotgun Sean says, Sub-Zero ice cold take. Awesome to see Bronson Reed back. Yes, it was. Glad he's with Seth. And I'm sure Seth is going to be like, oh, you're exactly what I'm looking for as the future of this company. A guy who gave me 6 tsunamis. And better to have Bronson Reed on your side than not on your side. I think it's a great position for him. He was doing really great work before he absolutely destroyed his ankles there at War Games. And it's great to have him back. All right, that's going to do it for
Cal Worthington and his dog Spot.
If you want a better buy, go see Cal. You're the guy we satisfy, go see Cal. Give a new car to your wife, she will love you all her life. Go see Cal, go see Cal, go see Cal.
God, these ads are everywhere. That's going to do it for this edition of Hot Takes, Cold Takes, Reactions, whatever you want to call it for Saturday night's main event. I'll be back tomorrow with our double or nothing Hot Takes, Cold Takes,
This is Twinkie the Kid. Ever wonder how they get that creamy filling into the middle of a Twinkie's cake?
We got to get out of here. There's way too many